great honor and it's a privilege to introduce tonight's guest speaker, a man whose remarkable journey has soared across the skies and touched the lives both on the ground and in the sky with equal grace. Please join me in warmly welcoming our guest speaker, Captain Elmo Jayawardene.
I just want to thank that young lady who said some very, very nice things about me. I'm grateful to that. I really want, as for the 4 lines I sent, I just want you to tell them I am a captain and you wrote a book, that's enough. But, my dear friends, I am delighted to be here. Delighted to be here because I found that before I could speak, I saw people and I met people and they were all in a very lovely mood. That is the most important thing, not what we ate and what we drank. The mood was very lovely. And the mood belongs to this organization and the members and their invitees. So let us first give a big hand to ourselves. Not me, you all. Okay, that's a good way to start. Next thing is, now, I told my table that if I by chance crack a joke, laugh loud. So that the others will think I said, he also must laugh because it must be a good joke. So I have already set up the play before I came here. And now I come back to the subject. Ahinta has given me, does Sri Lanka need a national airline? Obviously, the question is asked because the current airline is having some problems. Otherwise, there's nothing to ask, right? So, what he expects me to do, Ahinta, in about 20 minutes, he said 20 minutes talk and 10 minutes Q&A. So, I cancelled the Q&A. So, I can have 30 minutes. So, please keep your questions to yourself and write me an email if you want. That's it, right? And this airline today, which I love very much, is in debt due to so many reasons. But if Ahinta expects me to tell all of you what happened for the last 77 years in 20 minutes, then I must be a genius, which I am not. So I can tell you, the question is, should the airline be closed or not? None other than the picture. Right? And I will start with the one saying, why should it not be closed? That's the first one I want to talk. Then I must say, that for the benefit of the people who say it should be closed, I'll start on that thought. Only thing I'll talk very small snippets and things so that I have to be governed by the time limit that Ahinta has given me. Even now he has not even said, okay, you can have 5 minutes more. So let's say, there are so many people who said, Megavandor, and that comes from the top towers, not from the normal people who work. Our taxpayers' money is wasted, airline is not doing very well, therefore we should close it. I think, in my humble opinion, the answer is not to close, but to see what is wrong and then correct that. So, to explain that part of it to you, I am going to bring you a story about Air Lanka and Sri Lankan Airlines and compare it with a successful airline. Now, we all agreed that closing is okay. People say so, but there's a lot of problems in that. But if you want to go on, then whatever aviation experience I have, there must have something must have rubbed off on me. So I can just analyze in some way and tell you why should we go on and what path should we follow. The problem is that they put the commercial boss right in front of me when I'm talking. Luckily, I'm too old to get a job, and I'm not there for him to sack me. So that is the only courage that I have when I look at him. Just imagine if I was 40 years old, I'll be pleading with you and then saying, hey, this is what it is all about. So, I wanted to tell you, I picked up an airline to compare with Sri Lankan Airlines. Now, if I take Cathay Pacific and compare with Sri Lankan Airlines, that's a very big mismatch there. The same way, if I pick Singapore Airlines, it's the same thing. These are rich countries, rich companies. So we can't say, I say Singapore Airlines is so good, they are having so many planes, why can't we do that? No, we can't do that. For God's sake, let's look at things that we can do. Then we can say, okay, what is this? Qatar started recently. So if they are so good, why aren't we good? It's a different story. Qatar is not Sri Lanka, right? Same thing for Emirates. They are very, very good. True. They are all great airlines, but we must not compare ourselves with such giants. That is a very foolish way of looking at it. So I took a small airline, which you may not know. Now I want to volunteer. Somebody put their hand up, please. Please, come on, man. You're a SKAL and all these things. Can't put a hand up. Somebody wants to answer my question. Yeah, you are, sir. Thank you. What's your name?
Nagendra.
Mr. Nagendra from King's Cove.
I don't know. No.
Okay. Have you heard of Ethiopian Airline?
Yes, of course.
Is it a good airline?
More than average.
More than average. Yeah. You know, sir.
I lived in the Middle East and it was a good carriage.
Right. Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Nagendra. So I am comparing Sri Lankan with Ethiopian Airlines. Right? And it's a fair comparison. Right? They started operating in 1946 with 3 aeroplanes. We started operating in 1948 with 3 aeroplanes. That's how we started. They went on their first flight from Addis Ababa to Cairo. We went on our first flight from Pananga to Jaffna and to Madras. So very, very similar. Same aeroplane, DC-3. Then Sri Lanka thought, we can't do this. You know, this is a big job for big people. So we must get some help. So they went to Australian National Airlines and said, can you come and help us? Because they're Australian, they are helping, right? So they came. Whether they helped or whether they ate from our plate, I don't know. But I leave it for you to understand. In no time they left. So the Australians came and left. We were in square one still. Then comes the Dutch. If I make a mistake in English, my wife will laugh at me more than right? So the Dutch came, KLM. They did a little bit of training. They trained about 2 engineers and some stewardesses and I think 1 pilot. And they also left after eating from our plate. They didn't put anything into that. Then came British Overseas Airways Corporation, BOAC. They were a little bit better because they put a label there, Air Ceylon, and had 2 stores in Sari. That was their presentation. They were also there for some time and they left. And where were we? Half of the square one, not even the square one. Then came UTA. They came and trained some cabin crew and they trained pilots. And when they left 2 pilots and 2 flight engineers with us. So that's all we could train from them. They also left. So 4. They came Singapore Airlines at our invitation. They were paid and they set up a better place so that when they left, we could carry out the new airline called Sri Lanka. That's the last one that came. Sorry, the penultimate. Next was Emirates. when Emirates came, I don't know what happened, but I can make a calculated guess that Emirates did not want to steal our money. They were rich enough, right? So I don't think that they were trying to. So Emirates came and went, and we don't know whether they contributed or not, because I was not here. But I have heard one of the things that happened was there was an aeroplane that went empty to London to bring passengers. And that plane was put on the CEO, and he was moved out of Colombo. And then that was the end of the Emirates deal. So 6 airlines worked with us. 6. And all 6 came and left. And they did not do so much to make something very great for us to work with. That was the problem here. Now you take Ethiopian Airlines. They also started with those 3 aeroplanes, and they looked at a way of improving their airline by getting the services of somebody. They went to the UK, they went to France, and they went to the USA. And they got TWA. TWA came to Ethiopia, set up the aeroplane. They didn't put any money. They were paid for what they did, and they set it up so well, and they went off. So today, when we look back, now let us compare Ethiopian Airlines and Sri Lankan Airlines. We fly 25 aeroplanes, jet aeroplanes. Ethiopian flies 129 aeroplanes, jet aeroplanes, plus another 31 propeller aeroplanes. So their total fleet is 160. And we have 25. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with Sri Lanka. I'm only comparing things. Then their staff is 17.5 thousand. Ours must be about, Mr. Commissioner, 5,000? Right, 5,000. Okay. So that is one that we have. Then they had about 500 fatalities. And we have how many fatalities, Mr.? Since you're there, I'm going to ask you. Zero. Right. Can you imagine that? And this gentleman knows what he's talking about. He's the boss there, right? We haven't killed anybody. We haven't killed anybody. We lost some people in a bomb blast, but that's not a car crash. Ethiopians, they are great pilots, good airline, everything. I'm not saying in a way to put them down or say anything like that, but more than 500 people were killed by their crashes. But even then, they went happily on. Then we had a 30-year war, which was ended in 2009. Ethiopia is still fighting. From 1974, they got rid of Haile Selassie, and then the governments have been changing. Eritrea coming up with other things. With all the troubles in their country, they did so well. Now, their yearly tourist arrival is about 1.5. Ours is at least 2 million. So we are higher because they have only lions to show. Right? We have waterfalls, they don't have water to drink. So that is the situation. And now you might even turn around and say, hey, these guys, Ethiopian guys, can they fly? You might ask. Right? I'll tell you something. I trained 2 Ethiopian pilots, captains, in Singapore Airlines. I actually did not train them because there was nothing to training them. They were very good pilots. I was checking them. And these 2 captains, my wife is a witness there, were some of the best pilots I've seen in my life. So their standard was that high. One was called Yasukotama, the other one was Ilamai. So their standard of flying was also very good. No problem there also. And in the year 2023, they made gross earnings $6 billion US dollars. And out of that, 900 plus millions was the profit. Now all you accountants just put your figures and see. Put 6 billion and you may call that 900 million, 1 million, 10 million. And that's what's the profit in 2023. So I don't know how much Sri Lankan made, or I'm sure they would have made an operational profit. Because their problem is a huge debt that is on their heads. That is the problem. So without that thing, the loans that they had to pay, maybe we would have made some profit, but we have to look at the Ethiopian version of it. 6 billion and 900 million profit. So that's a big change, right? And Ethiopia is not Singapore or Hong Kong or something big. They got enough problems, but they done so well. And other important thing is, Ethiopians have 17,500 staff, out of which 90% are Ethiopian. They don't have any people sitting on round tables and drinking coffee and making decisions who had come from outside. They're all Ethiopian. That 10% outside people are either pilots or technical staff. So it is a fully Ethiopian operated airline. So if you look at it that way, why can't we? So what I'm saying is, from the observations I have made, it's not that Sri Lankan can't do well. Sri Lankan can definitely do well. And I know the gentleman sitting in front of me knows. It's just that there were mistakes made by people who didn't know they were making mistakes or knew they were making mistakes. Either way. And appointing people who didn't know what they were doing. But the answer is not closing, but changing things and looking at a way, because we got enough lessons that we have learned and put in practice together and get that airline. So that is the reason I say that we need an airline. Now, that part is enough. Now I'm going to request you permission to speak in Sinhalese. You know why? Because what I'm going to tell you now is going to hit your heartstrings. And such things are not very easy to explain in English. Like, for example, right. So how can I say that in English? That you hit the ball. Because when I say Kartagava, it hits you. Just look at all of us here, including me, I'm the number one. We all belong to a group, most of us, who went for an interview in a bus or in a train and went to the office and tried to get a job with Sri Lankan Airlines or Air Lanka or Air Ceylon, whatever that was there. And these are all people who had no degrees. That time in the 60s, 70s, nobody came with degrees. And then what happened? So you go and sit at the interview. Before you go, you got to borrow a tie from your neighbor. Well, we didn't have ties. And don't laugh. The best part is next. The ladies borrowed handbags. So they have a black dress, nice, but brown bag. So can't go. So got to get a black bag from somewhere. So borrow. Right? I'm sure, I don't want to point fingers, but I am sure there are a lot of handbag borrows here. So let them look at themselves and cheer, that's about all. And they went for the interview. I went for the interview as a steward. That lady said that I was a humble flight steward. No, I was not humble. Far from that. But not so humble, let's put it that way. I had no idea. I still remember the gentleman there who asked me the question, is the equator north or south of is Sri Lanka north or south? of the equator. I have never done geography, I have never done any of those things. I had no idea, but I knew it was a 50-50 chance. I said, it's south of the equator. And the best part is this, the person who asked me the question said, yeah. Right? So I thought I have guessed right. Later on only I realized, no, I was wrong. More wrong than me were the people in that boat there. They believe me, I didn't come here to lie. That's the gospel truth, right? So that was the kind of preparation we had to go for interview. Somehow we made it. Now when I say we, most of us who started like that. So then you go to a class now. As a student, I will put to a class. And they're talking about post divorce. What is post divorce? Do you know what post divorce is? Order. How the hell do we know? Have we ever eaten any order in our lives? I have never appeared at this country's company. Order. Post divorce. In your picture, post divorce can't know. Then they were talking about wine. අපිට මේ wine කියන එක කියාගන්නත් බෑ. අපි burn again. Now, my daughter and them, they know how to pronounce wine. We wine. But we know one is red and one is white. We have no idea. That is all we knew of wine. But we managed. So we started working. And then when we were working, we had friends. So we went out and ate. Where? At the Golfers Hotel or the Mount Lavinia Hotel. Right? We must be joking, right? Maximum we could manage was that Pollupidia cream house and milkshake. We went there and the milkshake are if you were a little bit better off, you went and ate at the green cabin. But to go to green cabin, that qualification was if you had a girlfriend. Two, three boys going out to eat something, they are not going to go to green cabin. Saraswati Lodge in Bambalapiti. That's it. But green cabin was purely reserved for those part of romantic, daredevil visits. That also, when you go to the green cabin, you look at the menu card from the right side. The right side. How much is this? Oh, 30 rupees. Now, what is it for 30 rupees? My dear friends, we can laugh. We can laugh as much as we want, but we were there. We were there, and no doubt about that. And then what happens? You're in the airline. So, great. What happens next is that there's a free ticket. Yeah, to Singapore. Everybody wanted to go to Singapore on the free ticket. So they got the ticket, went to Singapore. Of course, they checked into the Hilton, right? No problem. Or they went to the Raffles. No. They found a Sri Lankan who's living there, some poor bastard. Has to put them up and keep them. But if they couldn't find a Sri Lankan, then there were Sri Lankan families who gave rooms, not hotels. It doesn't matter what it was. So they found, like in Bethlehem, they found a place in the night to rest. That's the story. And then they got up in the morning and ran to Muhammad Mustafa. Ran, not just walked, ran and bought whatever they want. They came back. That was our life. That's what we had. You remember? Nothing less than that. And ඕක කරලා අපි මොකද කරේ ඉතින්? ඔය කම්පැනි ඉඳගෙන අමාරුවෙන් දස්සාව කරා. පොඩ්ඩ උඩට ආවා. දැන් අද මේ මට හම්බුණ මැනේජර්ලා හොඳනේ. මැනේජර්ලාගෙන් හෝ මගෙන් පටන් ගත්තම අපි සේරම ඔය කරත්තේ ගිය මිනිස්සු තමයි. වෙන කරත්තයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ අපි මොකද කරේ? පොඩ්ඩ දියුණු වෙලා අර කට්ටකාර ate the bone and managed to get promoted. So we got promoted and we got somewhere. we got married, and we had great stories now. Now when we get together, we can talk about it. But try telling that to your children. ඔබ ළමයින්ට කියන්නේ ගියාම ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ සුරංගනා කතා වගේ ඒගොල්ලෝ. මේවා මේ අන්නුගේ ගෙවල් වල ඉඳලා බඩු වර්ගගෙන ඇවිල්ලා ඉස්කි බෝතලේ කස්ටම් කාර්යයට හොරෙන් ගෙනල්ලා ඔය සේරම දැම්ම මේකට ලොකු කතන්දරයක් තියෙනවා. But we survived. We have survived, and now ඔය කම්කොටල් වාස්සේ අපි ඇවිදිනකොට වැඩියෙන් අපිට එක රක්ෂණයක් තිබුණා. ඒ රක්ෂණය තමයි අපේ ජාතිය ගොන්සේ. ඒකේ හැවණින්නේ අපි බලාගෙන ගිහින් දැන් අපි ඔය සේරම ඉවරලා අද ඇවිල්ලා අපි ලොකු තැන් වලට ගිහිල්ලා ගියොත් නැහැ. අයිසේ අපේ ටැක්ස් මේක වියදම් කරන්නේ මේක වහන්න ඕන. ඒක හරියන්නේ නැහැ නේද? අපි එතන හිටියා. දැන් ඒ වගේ 5000ක් ඉන්නවනේ. මේ මිනිස්සුත් ඔය දැන් ඒගොල්ලෝ අපියා වගේ මේ මුස්තාපදුවක් නැහැ. හැබැයි ඒගොල්ලොත් අමාරුම රස්සාවෙ ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් ඒ සීරක්ම ගැන හිතලා වැඩියෙන්ම අපි ගැන හිතලා අපි කරපු දේවල් හිතලා අපිට දෙපාරක් හිතන්න ඕන මේක වහන්න කියලා කියනවාට. වහන්න කියන මේ උත්තරේ හදන එක. අපිට රක්ෂණය දුන්නේ කවුද? අර නැෂනල් කැපිටල්. ඒකින්ද තමයි අපි හුඟ දෙනෙක් මෙතන ඉන්නේ. ඒක ලස්සන පදයක් තියෙනවා. සෙවනට සිටි ගස දෙකට කපන්නට කොහොමද පුරුදුුනේ? ඒක ලස්සනයි. අදම මිනිස්සුනි ඇයි තිරිසන් ගති කොතැනද කෙලෙහි ගුනේ? අන්න අපි ඒක මතක තියාගත්තා නම් අපි ওই පාරේ ආවනම් අපි කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේක වහපල්ලා කියලා. ඒක කොහොමද කරන්නේ? So I personally think we need an airline. We need an airline for many reasons. I have no time because that man is looking at his watch. I don't want to say anything more, but I can tell you some logical things about why we need an airline. But let's keep it to another day. Maybe I can have another free meal. Let's say part 2. What do you say? It's called part 2. And I just want to thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much.
Right? And I must say that all of us have reached kind of a twilight in our lives. That's a beautiful saying that only the going down of the sun at the end of the day, you would know how beautiful the day has been. So ask yourself, the sun is almost going down. For me, it has gone down to almost down to the water. But I can look back and think, hey, I made it. I came with a bus ticket and got an interview and did not know where Sri Lanka was relative to the equator, but I made it. Now, and almost all of you would have stories like that. Among you all, Surangana Kata. So let us be very grateful that we had a good life. And we are grateful and we are very happy to see that. And I'm grateful for these organizations for having people getting together and talking these things. And I guess that's what it is.
Sri Lankan Airlines alive for the sake of 5,000 people only or for the country?
For the country, definitely for the country. I don't think it's the 5,000 is a entirely different thing. Nobody is going to say this 5,000. Okay, I'll repeat this question. He's asking whether Sri Lankans should be kept alive for 5,000 people. No, that's just a small part of it. But the fact remains that having a national carrier is a very proud thing. And having a national carrier is your last resort when the things get rough and things go wrong, like the COVID. When people stop coming here, the national carrier flies. And also, more importantly, there are a lot of debts. That is the problem. Tomorrow, if Bill Gates came and said, I'm in a good mood, I want to clear all the debts of Sri Lankan Airlines and gave money, the next day Sri Lanka will be on profit, no? So, my take on this is, don't just close it. See whether you can modify it and make it work. But I personally think it can be done. If the Ethiopians can do it, why can't we do it? Did I answer you? Thank you very much.
I guess a little bit different idea that I have. So every time people want to close Sri Lankan Airlines saying that we are losing so much of money. So that's in the papers, right? But if say out of the 2 million tourists that come to Sri Lanka, Surya is one of the largest tour operators, he'll confirm more than 50% is brought by Sri Lankan Airlines. But the amount of money they come and spend in Sri Lanka doesn't appear in any of the Sri Lankan Airlines books. So if you take a value of say even at $100 per person per day, the amount of money the Sri Lankan Airlines passengers who come to Sri Lanka spend in Sri Lanka is a huge amount.
Yes.
So I think that should be one of the ways why we shouldn't close Sri Lanka. What do you think, Capt?
I totally agree with you. In fact, I'll go one step further. Some years back, Spain was struggling with Iberian Airways. You're a travel people, you know what Iberian Airways is. What they did, they gave a ticket from US stations to either Madrid or Barcelona, right? And it was a very cheap ticket, so that if you are going on a holiday, you look at, hey, where can I go? Okay, if I can go to Tahiti, it will be this much. But if I go to Spain, it's much cheaper. 2 weeks. But he doesn't take a tent to Spain and fix a tent and live in the tent. He has to go to a hotel, right? And eat. And that way they calculated that it was better for the airline to lose money, but bring the passengers in, get them used to come to Spain because Spain had so much to show to the world. And then they started making a big profit. What you said is 100% right. But then this action, it's nice, you can whisper on the commercial man's ear straight away, right next to you. Did I answer you? Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the courtesy of your attention. Thank you very much.